So it's a running joke on the pod that we have that like Hunter x Hunter characters are just way more intelligent than any other character in any other verse. And right, that's kind of an exaggeration to some extent, but it is kind of true that Togashi really likes to make his characters really thoughtful, really strategic,
Paranoid,
and plan ahead. Yeah, just consider all the possibilities, right? And one thing that came up when we were making a tier list ranking different geniuses in Naruto, make sure to go check out that video, by the way, is how intelligent someone like Itachi, we can even bring up someone like Minato, is in terms of like overall IQ points and intelligence. So it kind of made me think, where would these two characters, or general pinnacles of their verse intelligence-wise, stack up to the average Hunter x Hunter character? Are they making it past the 5th grade? Are they like top tiers? How do we feel? Like how do we feel they're stacking up intelligence wise?
Okay, so let's use the scale. Let's make the scale first, right? So who do we have as a particularly intelligent Hunter x Hunter character? Like, who would you say is the smartest Hunter x Hunter character? I have two candidates off rip. I have Jean and Pariston as the smartest.
Meruem?
Like different levels of it. You know what I mean?
Like different types. I will grant you, but like,
because
dude, Meruem was acknowledging things that could be considered a habit.
Okay, but that's a combat thing, right? We're talking about like Jean, for instance, made an archaeological find of the century at 15.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And that's kind of where it gets tough, right? Because like different characters are geared towards different levels of intelligence, right? And maybe we can bring in some more Naruto characters to kind of compare a little bit more, like straight up. But okay, cool. So we'll use Meruem.
We'll use Jean like an 8 or a 9
as different. Yeah, we'll use them as like different kind of aspects of intelligence, maybe, right? Yeah. They are like the top tiers. They are like geniuses amongst geniuses. Yeah. Just flat out, right?
Okay, cool. Yeah, Pariston and Jean especially are just like demonic, right? Like they could basically see the future. And then
idiots of the verse, I feel like would be like a
Tompa,
Tompa, like a Gon, right? Like kind of inexperienced. Can think on their feet, but you're not exactly like a strategist, right? You're just kind of like you're maybe quick-witted, right? You're an enhancer. Yeah, you're an enhancer, right? Like where you're like your good strategy is like another average story's good strategy, right? Like you're kind of just like you can fight, right? You can throw hands, you can think a little bit. Like Uvigin and apply some level of strategy.
I was laughing to myself when I thought of Uvigin on this list because I remembered the shit he was thinking when he was fighting Kurapika. I was like, you're a meathead, bro. You're a fucking you're a meathead.
And here's the thing, Kurapika like compliments him for like, dude, I didn't even think you could think to apply a smoke screen.
But he literally thought he was Naruto. That's a reference. Other video, check it out. That's 2 plugs in a row. Y'all not
come on now.
Y'all not seen other channels. Like, Honor, let's do it, bro.
Damn, bro.
Holy shit.
Nah, y'all gotta lock in, bro. USB-C the way we plug in. Like, come on now. Yes, sir. But needless to say, right? It's not like you don't have to like Uvigins, Gons of the world, like nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
Let's give a rundown of some of like Itachi, Minato level feats, just real quick, just to give them a good breadth of what they can do, right?
Itachi has the most intelligence feats that I can think of any Naruto character, just off the dome, right? He has 2 light novels dedicated to him. He made his own moral philosophy, code of ethics, and planned out his entire life when he was 4. He started thinking like a mayor, president, king at 7. Right, he was reading libraries of shit. Right, by the time he was 10, he was so strong and so smart that he was already considered a full-blown ninja. Right, he obliterated his entire clan at 12 years old. Itachi, after dying and coming back to life, figured out how to undo the control the person who brought him back to life had over him by already prepping a backup plan before he died for a completely unrelated thing, just in case.
By the way, he was able to apply it so quickly and so efficiently that he didn't even really do any damage in the way that the person reviving him had intended, right?
Then he goes to the person who revived him after all of that, and then uses a hardcore therapy genjutsu to make him a better person.
Yep. Minato as another example. Just honestly an overall genius in terms of he looks at basically the tailed beast's Biju bombs, right? This incarnation of destruction and death for any regular ninja and thinks, Based on the ratio of light to dark chakra, maybe if I had a rotation to that, I can make something pretty deadly. Called it the Rasengan and called it a day.
He did not call that shit the Rasengan. He's actually uniquely bad at naming shit.
Like, you're right. Jiraiya it got called the Rasengan, and he called it a day, right? Yeah. By the way, Field says that against the strongest tailed beast, a Biju Bomb clashes, boom, right?
By the way,
master of sealing jutsu, better able to split not only the soul of himself and his wife, but the soul of a continent-wiping giant kaiju, splitting that in half, sealing half inside him, sealing half inside his son. All without his son was chilling, by the way. That's a newborn.
Yeah, dude, unprepared, unprovoked. Like this happened to him and he adapted on the fly. He thought the biggest villain in his universe came back to life, beat him, by the way, then did all that shit, chose to die. After creating a backup,
all because he knew it would be beneficial for the Leaf Village, right? And basically, the only oversight he ever made is assuming that one of his students that was confirmed dead died. That was the one oversight he made ever in his life.
Literally, that was his. He has two flaws: that and not being able to name shit. That's it.
Yeah. So, the table's set, right? We know how smart Minato and Itachi are. We know how smart Hunter x Hunter characters are. We have the scale, right? Where do they fall?
I would like to focus on Itachi a bit more because he's typically more book smart, right? At least like when he was younger, right? And in that respect, if we're just using book smarts and being able to communicate and, just basic information gathering, retention, and regurgitation, Itachi's at least a 2 on the Hunter x Hunter scale, right? Like, because you remember Tompa is a 2, and he had read the psychological study about people making decisions about whether to go left or right when given a path to choose, when given a random path to choose from. And he was able to perfectly recall that, and then able to perfectly recite the another study that referred to. Sorry, this wasn't a study. This is his own theory that happened to be correct in ascertaining the situation he didn't give a shit about, where regarding like the psychological effects of being the minority in a majority rule situation, and he had perfectly manipulated this again on the fly to boost himself, right? So, dumbest Hunter x Hunter character, second dumbest Hunter x Hunter character after Gon. Right? Itachi's at least a 2 when he was 7. When he was 7, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you have to get into managing emotions, tactics, and negotiations. Those are separate skills that I put like a tier above that, right? In his conversations with Danzo, who is basically like the leader of the ninja CIA, super evil guy, right? Like genuinely described as like a pit of darkness and despair. Itachi at like 10 years old was able to control himself, negotiate on the same terms, and go like read for read with Danzo. Now Danzo still had the upper hand generally, but as Itachi was like 12, 13, same like he surpassed him, right? I can attribute this to like Frollo level.
I was gonna say, I think to me, Itachi strikes me as like maybe Hisoka's a little too far, but like a Crollo-esque level intelligence. I guess you think Crollo and Hisoka are very far on the intelligence scale, right? But
yeah,
I think he strikes me as like a middling, maybe middle upper, like that 5-6 of like a Hunter x Hunter strategist, right? Of like, okay, you if he has good ability, like if he has the advantage ability wise, even if you are smarter than him, you're not running circles around him like he's a dummy, right? Unless you're like a Meruem, a Jing, a Parison, like
Hisoka,
we said, the upper echelons, right? Your chances are, even if you're smarter than Itachi, it's not like a generational gap. You're not bullying him intellectually, right? He can keep about his wits. He can understand these things. He can comprehend them at a high level speed, et cetera, et cetera. Things that are generally very important. Now, what I will piggyback off of, right, and be even a little bit more harsh on Itachi is when we're talking about like the cognizance, the intellect, the emotional regulation, the conversation, things that are a lot more cerebral, Itachi does a lot better than I think he does in combat.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is because...
And I want to add one more thing real quick. All these feats are made more impressive because he's actively 12 years old, right? Like developmentally, his brain is at 12 years old. So he's making all these decisions, not because he's talented, but like he is talented, but like in spite of his own, maturity and development.
Biology.
Yeah.
Right. Like think about what you were doing at 12, right?
Yeah.
Think about if you're even like 18 now, right? Think about what you thought was funny, what you thought was intelligent at 12, and think that is probably the gap between 12-year-old Itachi maturity wise and like the Itachi when he ends up dying.
Yeah.
Right. That is the gap. By the way, Itachi only dies because he lets himself die, and he specifically does it to get a very specific reaction out of Sasuke, right? Sasuke's, or rather Itachi's problem as a shinobi was simply that he thought he could do it all by himself.
Yeah.
And because he had somewhat,
yeah.
and because he somewhat had a reason to believe that,
yeah.
right?
And on top of that, he had like an illness that was actively killing him anyway. So he actually prepped for his brother. Like, okay, Itachi prepped for his legacy. He made a contingency plan. He made a contingency for his brother reacting in the way that he wanted it to. His only miscalculation, aside from like his only flaw, was taking shit onto himself and not really getting others to help. But his only other mistake, not flaw, mistake, was not realizing a different guy had like one extra secret that he didn't know about.
Yeah, one extra secret that he primed to go up against, right? But it's just like a really hard counter. Also, the guy that was possessing his brother,
insane to think about that. By the way, like Itachi's not dumb for not realizing it. It was so stupid. Like, you have to be a conspiracy theorist to think it's a possibility that this guy had the secret that he had.
By the way, guy sealed himself in here. He lured him out, killed him, and then continued to fight. And is like, yeah, no, that was all part of the plan. Like,
all this while giving an Oscar-worthy performance. So he's able to fake it really well too.
Yeah. So I honestly could say, I wouldn't think it's crazy to say he's like a 7 out of 10 on the Hunter x Hunter intelligence scale. Like, I think you could really get him up there. I think you can argue he's really high.
Yeah. Like,
right?
if you want to make not necessarily genjutsu, like whatever texture surprises, like a trick or an illusion. Right?
Yeah.
Itachi and Hisoka could really go at it.
Yeah. Trick for trick, that's looking genuinely diabolical and nasty, right?
How good do you think Hisoka would be with a Sharingan or a genjutsu ability?
That's gross, bro. Like, I don't think you understand. No, that's actually disgusting to think about. There are certain. No, that's gross. I actually don't like that idea, bro. With a Sharingan or Genjutsu based ability, that sounds like genuine hell.
The texture surprise Tsukiyomi would be chilling.
Yeah, dude. Because when someone breaks out of the Genjutsu and is like, but you're not supposed to have your arm. I took that off. Yeah, I remade it. Yeah. By the way, my Nen has the properties of both rubber and gum. Type shit. Yeah. But yeah. So I think Itachi's very competent, right? I think Minato would probably be at a very similar capacity. He's learned he's kind of carved out his own way in that regard. Now, where I think, and this is why I put Meruem forward, is I think there's a level of intelligence that surpasses kind of what like conventional intelligence is supposed to be. It's like this level of kind of him and Komugi have it because of the games they play, right? Mm-hmm. The statement of Meruem recognizing a consistency in Netero's movements, right? Not in his offense, because that was literally perfect. Like, the narrator makes clear his offense is
perfect.
Literally perfect, right? But his defense wasn't, and that's where Netero made his first mistake, right? So he finds
mistake,
I fail to remember. Yeah, mistake. His mistake is that his defense wasn't. Yeah.
His mistake was that his defense was only 99.99% accurate.
Yeah, right? But it's like he recognizes the patterns in the defense that can't even be called a bias. And is like, no, there's still a pattern, right? I still, like, in the same way that there's a pattern in the way the grains of sand are allotted across the beach, there's a pattern in your defense, and I'm going to find it, and I'm going to destroy you and pick you apart. By the way, Meruem has to fight non-lethally because he wants to figure out his name.
So he's holding back. Yeah.
I don't think there's a character in Naruto that has a feat, statement, whatever, that comes even remotely close to that. I'm going to be entirely honest.
Counterpoint. I can give Meruem the same intelligence, but make him 40% weaker. And those attacks he's eating...
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure. That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. A lot of it is made possible through that. Now, yeah, that's fair. That's actually a really good point. That's a really good point. If you make it so that he's like equal to Netero, he's just getting kind of like washed because it's like, I see it, but dude,
I can't do anything.
I can't just get hit by all of these. So that is actually a really good point. That's a really good point.
It's like, yeah, bro, Batman's like a guy, but
Yeah,
You know
like
what I mean?
bro, he technically is in bulletproof. So shoot him then.
Yeah.
I don't. Many people have tried, bro.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a fair
Mhm.
point.
Yeah.
Um,
But I will
mhm,
say, like, for Meruem, like, that perception, that's the intelligence part, right?
mhm,
The fact that he's able to, like, basically be a supercomputer with information and learn on the fly, like, he's a sponge, right?
yeah.
And that's also another part of it. The reason I put Guy and Pearson so high up is because they have this development done. They're, they have experience. They have all these, like, they dotted all their P's and Q's. Like everything's perfect, right?
Mhm.
Jean is possibly the smartest character in Hunter x Hunter, and I say this with love to Itachi. Itachi is going to look at Jean and lose. Because Jean's going to be like, oh, wow, you must be from Naruto.
Yeah, a Sharingan. He's gonna be like, listen, it's actually not my Hatsu, but I can probably reflect, like, just open his eye, like, I have that too. Like, it's just my Nen.
He's going to think, it's Nen, which is like chakra. I could probably make a mirror. Hold on. And then he's going to have a Sharingan.
Let me convert that in my head. Uchiha DNA, I don't really need that. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I could just mimic the properties. How did...
Yeah, in terms of being a genius, it's kind of like imagine Jing had a Sharingan, but like canonically in the world he didn't have a Sharingan, right? Like he's the copy ninja, but without the thing needed to copy shit. And that's like his
just
least impressive achievement.
Yeah. Like the crazy part too is like that's not even Jean's like main ability, right? Like it's what he's gonna fight you with, right? But like he's an explorer, he's a hunter, right? So for him, that thrill of discovery, even when you're fighting, is gonna come first. So Itachi's gonna see all his abilities get mimicked, and then Jean will start fighting him.
Fire, huh? That sounds like an emitter ability. Like that's genuinely.
Emission. I haven't done this in a minute. And then it proceeds to make like a fucking ballistic missile level like fire.
Yeah. Needless to say, in terms of like just pure intelligence feats, like the top tiers in Hunter x Hunter have a lot more. Like and I think it's because it's more of a diverse style of intelligence. And Togashi also goes into painstaking. Like he goes over in such a painstaking fashion that even though a lot of the characters, like you could argue, even characters outside of Naruto, different verses, have better intelligence feats, they're not presented in a way that seems as overwhelmingly smart as like when you see like, and I'm sure we can maybe like, the Hunter x Hunter pages we're talking about, right? Yeah. Where you see a regular guard going through a myriad of different points of regular reasoning, right? Xing them out, crossing them out, being like, no, that doesn't make sense because of this reason and this fallacy and this and this and this, right? And obviously they're regular. They're just a guy. Maybe they don't even know Nen, right? And then you have Jing, Periston, Meruem, Hisoka, all of these characters, even like someone like Corolla, like just people that are exponentially beyond that. And I think it's a combination of reasons. One, just a variety of different types of intelligence. Togashi's writing style just being a lot more verbose. And then just like the emphasis Togashi likes to put on strategy, especially in Hunter x Hunter, right? Like abilities are cool, but like, bro, if this motherfucker's Nen ability is like, on every Tuesday, like you have a needle in your foot, and after 3 Tuesdays pass, it's up for you, gang.
And you know what's funny? Like, the other thing too is like with Hunter x Hunter, Nen is binding. It's like you have to obey the rules, right? So it's not like Chakra where it's really just focused on combat, but like. Take somebody like Knuckle who has the ability to like make you file your chakra taxes, right?
Yeah.
Like he's basically the end effect is he siphons your chakra, right? Or siphons your Nen. But he does it in like a very convoluted way that even you like taking the time to try to figure out the technique, he doesn't have to say anything too, right? If you in the time you have the little APR doll next to you collecting and the number going up, only a handful of Hunter x Hunter characters will understand what's going on.
Yeah. Just immediately, right? Like, obviously the math or whatever, right? But like explaining it, it's in a way that's like, oh, you don't necessarily understand it until you start feeling it, and you're like, oh, why is my aura shrunk by half, gang? What's going on here? Yeah, so
and you can't get rid of it, by the way. Like you
get out of range or beat his ass. Like that's kind of it. Right. So I do think, honestly, in talking about it, I was worried that we would make Itachi and Minato come out of here seem like just absolute buffoons, but they honestly do scale like decently high into it, higher than I initially, when I asked the question, thought they would. But I do think that there is a variety of different ways that Hunter x Hunter characters are framed that, at the bare minimum, makes them present as like overwhelmingly intelligent characters.
I mean, you take for example like this most recent cluster of chapters with the negotiation game, and you have a character who I forgot their
didn't
name.
know Nen.
Yeah, didn't know
Yeah.
Nen, right? Had like the cards stacked against them by surprise, and was able to not only instantly grasp all the rules, know what questions to ask in the negotiation, know what psychological buttons to push and not push, came up with a method to cheat while asking all these questions, successfully cheated, and then had a plan to lock in the cheating method. And they are still considered a doofus and a fucking like the way we a fucking a troglodyte, dude, like a mouth breathing buffoon for not even considering that like the other person would pick up on the cheating method perfectly, and then have a secret contingency plan embedded in the rules of the game to give them total control over you. That's their fault, dumbass.
Yep. That's just how the game is played, right? That is just how the game is played. So for sure, I definitely think there are levels to this. I don't know if we want to talk about it in this video, or maybe, I don't know, do another thing about it, but I think there are definitely verses you can get in with someone so gracefully mentioned characters like Kisuke, you know, the Aizen and Mayuris, and I think that'd be a little bit of an interesting kind of parallel discussion. But yeah, in terms of Naruto characters,
God,
I feel like the best,
disgusting.
yeah, I feel like the best and brightest, pretty solid in Hunter x Hunter, right? Don't let Naruto step in there though. He's fish food.
Yeah,
I'm gonna just be honest.
I will say like Shikamaru might not get as far as we think, just because from what I've seen, tactics is a specialty. But as far as like psychological battles and negotiations, I haven't really seen that really well.
It would be tough. It would be tough to tell, because that's also it's just less of a center point or a focus point for Naruto. So you don't really have the feats to really demonstrate that for sure. But I think they do decently. They do all right, but I don't know if they're winning. They're getting to the top of that, you know, Hunter x Hunter intelligence tier list, if you will.
So,
but thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate y'all watching. You know, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, I see.
We'll see when we see it. If you didn't see the Naruto tier list, once again, third plug. You already know what it is. Make sure to check that out. It was really fun. You know, but have a good rest of y'all's night, morning, or evening, and we will see you on the next one.